Kia ora, good afternoon. I have been sitting all day. This is going to sound so macabre, but I've been sitting all day watching execution videos. Not watching executions, stories about people who have just recently been executed. I've been watching them for a while because I've been trying to work on a storyline for a movie. You know how I was saying I need to do an exorcism movie? I've completely changed direction given recent events with the Miss Amber School of Alchemy, and the probability that I'm going to be filming this in New England, and having watched a lot of stuff about ghost hauntings and paranormal activity in New England in order to be able to draw from the stories, and also from being in the South and, the executions of slaves and witches and all that sort of thing. I've been doing research because with Miss Amber's Miss Amber's School of Alchemy, I want to be able to use real events. But in this movie, and I don't know what to call it, and trust me, when I'm working with biorhythmics, the name I give the movie, just like with the music that I compose for anything that I'm going to be creating in the future, is really important. So I don't know whether to call it the exorcism of the executioner or the executioner's exorcism. At the moment, I'm going with the executioner's exorcism, and I'm not going to go into the storyline because it's unique. There's nothing like it out there. And it's not based on real events. It's not based on anything historical. I'm just trying to decide whether I want it to be modern or historic, because it is going to be filmed in all probability in America. It doesn't have to be, it's just that America's prolific with their executions. So I don't know whether to base it in modern times or, going back. And then I thought, well, I could make it to do with Abigail's execution. Remember, from becoming spellbound with Sam's great. I could make it about her execution. But then I thought, like the witch thing, it's already been. I'm covering that. I'm already covering that. So then I thought, okay, so I'm going to make it a modern day horror. It's, modern day horror about an exorcism. So I've been doing research about the methods of exorcism, and I didn't even know there's some states in America that still do hanging, because I watched 3 about hangings, and I watched some about lethal injections and gas chambers and all of that. So I've been trying to get a feel of how I want this execution to take place and why they're being executed, and bringing in the whole story of the executioner and all of that. And I've come up with a really exciting storyline that, for someone who loves horror movies, I would love it. I would go out of my way to go to see. I mean, I'm not being biased, but I'm writing some pretty incredible movie storylines that I would watch. I wouldn't watch my soap opera when the bell breaks. I wouldn't watch that. I probably wouldn't watch Dork the musical either, because they're not really what I'm into. But everybody has their thing. But see, with my horror movies and that, I would absolutely 100% pay to go to see these movies, and I will pay to go to see these movies. When my movie theatre is up and running, I will be going to the movies to watch these movies. And like I'm single, but I really hope that I end up with someone who will come to the movies with me and watch my horror movies. Because I want to have like horror festivals, like for Halloween, and I just want to have like a month of just like every night just having like horror movie festivals. And in a few years when we've made all my horror movies and that, just have like horror fest 2028 sort of thing. I reckon we can make a couple of horror movies a year, and if I got other countries involved, we could have quite a few movies up on my streaming service for the month of Halloween quite fast. It just depends on how far I want to go with the graphics and the stage makeup and special effects and that sort of thing. But with the executioner's exorcism, or the exorcism of the executioner, I prefer the exorcism of the executioner. It just sounds a bit too long for a horror movie title. So the executioner's exorcism, and again, remember the name might change, and it probably will change. But what I will tell you is the storyline that I'm currently writing in my head before I can get get my laptop sorted and type all of this out is awesome. And because I like to write stuff where there's nothing like it out there. And even by the name of the movie, you're not, like with Mountain High, you're not going to be able to guess the storyline or the plot line. So I'm just deciding this, obviously there's going to have to be background into the one being executed, background into the executioner, background into the crime, that sort of thing. And there are so many incredible prisons in the New England area and even in the South that are currently, penitentiaries that aren't being used anymore, that would be fantastic to film in. And I really feel like, because America is, a prolific execution country, I'm going to be there anyway. So make it in America. I think, even though, like, yeah, okay, we're going to be doing Miss Amber's School of Alchemy, we're going to be filming that in New England. I really, really feel drawn to do this in the South. And I wonder if it's because of that man on Instagram with his Louisiana accent. Gives me an excuse to go to Louisiana, New Orleans and all that. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Because it fits in better with the storyline that I'm wanting to go down. Because I'm already covering, the execution of witches and that with Becoming Spellbound and Miss Amber's School of Alchemy. That's already sort of all been covered. And you know what the South are like, the Bible Belt and all that. We're covering the Puritan aspect. So now let's cover the Bible Belt aspect and turn it into an exorcism in regards to an execution. And the thing is, the funny thing is, all those years ago when I was training my students up to prepare them for when I got to America so that we could travel around and make these shows that I wanted to do, when I was first being taught by Father Moon about the importance of magnetism, because what happened was, this is going way back. Oh my, we're going to getting in the way back machine here. So long before I ever came up with the idea of developing biorhythmic engineering, before I came up with the biorhythmic field generator, I was old school, and I used pendulums, to gauge energy fields, because that's what you use pendulums for, right? For no other reason than, like how there's people that can use dowsing rods and that to find water and ley lines. Well, pendulums do the exact same thing. and you'll see, the thing I put up with how to cleanse your pendulum. So way back in the day when I was training my students to test them to get them ready for when I got to America, when Martin got out of prison and we'd make their shows and that, I was using a pendulum, and I got them to find pendulums and trying to show them how to use them. And one of the things that I was worried about was, see, when we went to places like sanitariums and, penitentiaries and old factories and, places that were like Gettysburg and that had a lot of ground to cover, how we were going to be able to do a cleansing, like an energetic cleansing, with only a few of us covering such a large area. And that's when Father Moon started teaching me about the importance of magnetism and, working with the ebbs and flows of the planet at night and all of that sort of thing. And that's when I started developing, without realising it, the biorhythmic field generator that I now have. So I don't need a pendulum anymore. I used my punami. God, what's wrong with my words at the moment? Punamu. I used my punamu when I was locked up as a pendulum, but I don't. Once I develop my BFG, I can go to these locations now and do it in one central spot, and not have to worry about covering all the bases and having people in that corner and people in that corner. And I was actually imagining myself inside this rundown penitentiary that I had been watching on an episode of. It wasn't Most Haunted, but I don't think it was Ghost Adventurers either, but it was one of those ones. It wasn't Most Haunted, but they were somewhere in South America and they were in this prison, but it had been shut down. And there was all this paranormal activity, and there was all these horrendous things that went on there. And I was why can't I speak? Envisaging myself being there, using the moon and the pendulums and that to, like, okay, so if I was there, if I was investigating this place, knowing what I know with the tools that I have under the moon, how would I do it? How would the girls and I get there and do it? How would we do it? And I was picturing it in my head. And in that moment in time, I understood it. I got it. I thought, okay, I've got it now. Now I know what to do. When I get to America and we go around and start making these shows, we can go to the penitentiaries and the sanitariums and the orphanages and, all the schools in that world where all this brutality took place, and help cleanse it while doing investigations and making shows and all that. And a lot of them were down in the south. A lot of these prisons that caught my eye were down in the south. And with the history of everything that went on there with the voodoos and, the slaves and all of that, I think I want to film it in the south. It's just calling me to film it in the south. Speaking of which, one of the videos I was watching yesterday about New England's hauntings, they were talking about the House of Green Gables, where the dude wrote the Scarlet Letter and all that. That's where I was taken. It was, I was only there for, like, we got there in the I arrived in the early afternoon, and we drove from the airport. We drove immediately to Salem, and I was there one night, and then we went to Cape Cod the next day, and then it was like the day after that I had to get on the bus and go down to New York. But I was taken to the House of Green Gables before we had to head over to Cape Cod, and that's where my boobs got me stuck in in the stairway. But one of the things I remember saying to Joanne, because I was picking up on stuff, and I said to her, I can hear music playing downstairs, and I said I can smell alcohol. Now this was a Puritan house, so they didn't have alcohol and that. And I said, I can. They're having a party. I can hear music in the room in this. And I said it's coming from down here. And she was like, show me, show me. So I said to her, I walked her into the room, and I said, it's this room here. I said, I'm watching people having a party. There was like violins playing, and I said they're drinking alcohol, and it didn't make any sense. And then the tour guide lady came along, and she said that they had a secret alcohol bar hidden behind the wall. And Joanne was like, oh my God, like, how did you know that? And I said, because I was watching them drinking. But the other thing I said to her was, I could see a African American woman, and she was carrying a basket that looked like either clothing or laundry, standing outside. And I said she looked Creole or Cajun or something. And I said to her, did they have African Americans, like, did they have black people around, like New England and all of that, like just about? And we didn't know because it wasn't mentioned. This video I watched yesterday, they were saying that the House of Seven Gables was used as the underground railroad, and that they smuggled, what was it, 50,000? Remember I was saying about the house I went to in North Carolina where I crossed those spirits over? With the Hindenburg and the slaves asking me why they, like, can we ask why? Why they've done this to us? The two properties are connected. And apparently the woman who lived there protected the slaves. They helped free the slaves, up to 50,000 slaves apparently from the south, to help them find sanctuary in the north. And a lot of them stayed in that house. And I thought, if I still knew Joanne, I'd be ringing her up and saying, oh my God, do you remember when I saw that African American lady? Turns out it's real. They really were in that building. They really were there. And I saw this woman, and I described her to a T, and I can still see her standing there because she had like a wee bonnet thing on her head, and she was wearing a grey dress with long sleeves with buttons all down the arms, and she was wearing like this white apron, like cotton apron thing, and she was carrying a basket. And I said it either looked like clothing or washing. And she looked really happy, and she was like standing sort of to the side of the house, just going about her business. And then I found out yesterday it was true. They did have slaves in that house. They saved the slaves from the south. So yeah, so I think I want to make this movie in the south. And it won't be in the bloody summer either. Oh my God. I can't do the heat, and I know what southern heat feels like. No, thank you. I'm too white for southern heat. Not unless I have access to a swimming pool. But yeah, so I couldn't believe it. So it's like all these places I went to in America have started connecting a lot of dots for me in regards to what I'm going to be doing when I get there. And I'm pretty sure that all roads are leading to me going back to America. Even though I keep saying Switzerland, I think God's, especially after everything that's happened with Trump, I think God's saying, yeah, I'm pretty sure I need you in America now. And it's like, okay, that's fine. I know a couple of people in America, and one of them's only like one state away. So I'm happy to go there. I'll go there. I'll be perfectly happy to go there. That's fine. If that's what God wants, then so be it. One of the things I forgot to say when I was talking to George, the slave who was speaking on behalf of everybody else in North Carolina, when I told him about the way the world is now, I said to him, do you have do you have a message for any African Americans out there now? Like, is there anything that you want me to tell them? And he said to me, trade places. And I thought, oh my God, like, you think you've got it hard now? Trade places. And for years, I was too scared to tell anyone what he said. But you know, when you got people like Diddy and Beyonce and Jay-Z acting the way they are, trade places. It's kind of like it's an insult to their memory. It's an insult to everything that they were put through. To take for granted. Oh my God, what's wrong with my words? Take for granted what they went through in order to give them the life that they now have, sort of thing. Switch places. If you think you've got it bad now, let's switch places. That really hit home, especially because I'm pretty sure that my Māori ancestors had slaves of the, because we were royals. We were Māori royalty, and I'm pretty sure we had slaves, of the lower classes. So yeah, that really hit home. But Priscilla, I guarantee you she wouldn't have deleted that video. Well, it's not. I think it's. I can't remember if she videoed it or recorded my voice. Whatever it was she did, she wouldn't have deleted it. It might be half and half actually. I think she put the phone down but kept it recording. I remember planes from World War II flying over. I remember men going missing on a fishing boat, and when we did the research, men really did go missing on a fishing boat. Like it was that place, yeah. When I go down south, I see a lot. So it's like if I'm going down there, if we're going down there to make this movie, like, of course I need to make shows. I need to make shows everywhere I go because I need to put them on my channel. And then when the kids come along, they can do their paranormal PI show and teach kind of relatively the same thing to children. So, yeah, the executioner's exorcism, or the exorcism of the executioner. Or it might be like the exorcism of Emily Rose, but maybe whatever fictitious name I give the executioner, I might make it, like John Smith's John Smith's exorcism or something like that. I'm pretty sure the name is going to change because it's not sitting right with me biorhythmically. But the storyline is going to be wow. And I just really, really hope I have well, I mean, that doesn't sound desperate, eh? I really hope I've got a man by then because I just love the idea of sitting and watching horror movies so that I can snuggle with, even though I've written them and I know what's going to happen, even I'll still get frights and stuff and I'll be like, ooh, I know I'll probably critique it as well. Oh, I should have made it this. Why didn't I make it this? Sort of thing, but I want to be able to watch them and like snuggle with my man and like, hide my head in his shoulder. That's one of the reasons why I want to do like a whole slew of horror movies so that when guys are taking their girls out on date nights, it gives them an excuse for her to hide in his shoulder. So, yeah, I was thinking as well, I need to do a water beastie one because of obviously Creature of the Black Lagoon and God, my words, Black Lagoon and Jaws. I swear to God, I don't have any drugs or alcohol in my system. I'm completely, is there I can't be affected by a retrograde because, oh, mind you, I am coming out of an ascension still. Coming out of the, because you're usually only affected by a Mercury retrograde or a retrograde if it's an air sign based one, um, any of the air sign planets, if you're still ascending, but I've literally just come out of the underworld, so it could be a retrograde issue as to why I'm having trouble with my words. But um, yeah, so I think I want to do like a clown one too, because nobody likes a clown. Um, so yeah, I need to do a water beastie one too, but I don't know where to go with it yet. It's just something I was thinking about yesterday when I was posting stuff about the creature from the Black Lagoon. So this is about my exorcism movie. You know, if you know any of the Omen movies or anything like that, I've seen the execution of execution. Oh my God, Debbie Lee, the exorcism of Emily Rose, and I wasn't impressed. This is going to be like, and then we can, when I have my Halloween festivals and that, I'll have an excuse to get like a um, electric chair or old sparky sort of thing. It just depends. I haven't decided how I'm going to execute him yet, or her. Um, I just know that it's more than likely going to be modern day and made down the south of America. So I'm just putting it out there. And I don't know why I can't talk properly. I'm going to have to look and see if there's a retrograde, like a air sign planet based retrograde. So I'm going to go and get something to eat. That probably doesn't help. Or maybe my sugar levels are low and my brain's a bit fuzzy. So I will wait for my dinner and then, yeah, start padding out this little storyline of mine. And I will speak to you later. Ka kite anō.